You won't believe how far living well can go. This is the story of Buddy, the kindest guy you'll ever meet, and how he took nuclear revenge on a cheating ex who left him for his friend. Spoiler, his retaliation wasn't bitterness or drama. It was building an joyful life that hit harder than any. You ever meet someone who's just good, like salt of the earth, wouldn't hurt a fly, always there when your car breaks down or your life does? That's Buddy. From the jump, this guy had a heart of gold, and the story I'm about to tell you proves it. But back then, back in middle school, he was just this shy band kid with a French horn, a steady smile, and no clue what life had in store for him. Now picture this. Suburban southern city, 90s vibe, big Friday night, lights energy. You've got the high school football team soaking up the spotlight, but behind the bleachers, that's where the real story brewed in the marching band. Buddy played French horn, of course. Dickie's best friend was the class clown with a tuba bigger than his dreams, and Lisa, no one really remembers what she played, maybe clarinet, who knows. What you do remember is how she looked. She was the kind of pretty that made time stop in a hallway. Big blue eyes, hair like dark chocolate silk, lashes so long they touched her cheeks. She had presence, that a girl aura, but back then, she was just one-third of a tight little trio. They were inseparable. Every home game, every halftime show, every band trip, they were always together. Buddy was the heart, Dick the mouth, and Lisa dog dart. Lisa was the mystery. You ever see a trio and think, someone's gonna get their heart broken? Yeah, this was that story waiting to happen. Buddy and Lisa started dating in high school, and it was the kind of romance that looked solid from the outside, hand-holding in the halls, shy kisses after practice, letters passed between periods. It was sweet, earnest, the kind of relationship where you imagine prom and maybe college together. And Buddy, he was all in. Every ounce of kindness and love he had, he poured into Lisa. Dick was the third wheel, but not in a sad way. He wasn't jealous. He was busy being a low-key ladies' man, floating, dating, breaking up, rinse repeat, decent looking, sharp-tongued, and shamelessly cocky. He had his own thing going. He used to joke that while Buddy was busy being Romeo, he was playing Casanova on Fast. But Dick was loyal to a fault, always there for Buddy and Lisa, always cracking jokes and smoothing over their teen fights. Then came the awkward parts, like any real teenage romance. Buddy and Lisa started getting physical, like a lot of kids do when things feel serious. And Dick, he kept doing his thing, sometimes even paying for company on the side. That kind of company. Told Buddy about it in confidence once. Weird flex. But that's just who he was. Open book to a fault, even when the pages were smudged. By senior year, everyone thought they had figured life out. Buddy and Lisa were aiming for prestigious public university. Buddy studied like a machine, worked side gigs, kept his Jeep. Lisa wasn't far behind. Good grades, good plans. Dick, though, he went his own way. School didn't click for him. He dropped out, but not before figuring out he could code like a demon. Self-taught, unconventional, but brilliant in that hacker genius kind of way. He landed on his feet faster than anyone expected. Buddy got accepted to PPU and Lisa followed. They moved up to Southern City's prestigious side, full of hope and caffeine. Dick, staying behind, started climbing the tech world from his basement command center. But even as they grew apart physically, that trio bond didn't break. Calls, texts, holiday geek. The friendship ran deep, or so everyone thought. Then came the next milestone, graduation. Buddy finished early, top of his class. He was pure grit, working late shifts, studying harder than anyone. And when the ceremony came, he planned a quiet dinner, took Lisa out, got down on one knee, and proposed with the best ring he could afford, a modest diamond. Nothing flashy, but bought with love. She said yes. Buddy was over the moon. This was it. The dream was real. But dreams have cracks sometimes, and this one was about to shatter. Lisa had one more semester to finish. She went back home to Southern City while Buddy stayed in prestigious city, already hired by a top consulting firm. They made plans. Long distance, job offers, saving money for a place together. Buddy even helped her line up interviews at his firm. She visited him during spring break, and during that trip, unbeknownst to Buddy, she got pregnant. She didn't tell him. She flew home, told Dick she was in trouble, and he, being the loyal friend, took her to the abortion clinic. They never said a word to Buddy, not then, not ever. That secret sat there like a landmine, ticking under the surface of their friendship. Weeks later, Buddy found out from his HR department, not from Lisa, that she had turned down her job offer. No explanation, just silence. He called Dick, and that's when the real betrayal hit. Dick, ever the straight shooter when he had to be, said it plain. Lisa and I are a couple now. I'm sorry. You can punch me next time we see each other. Can you imagine? Your best friend. You're behind your back, boom. But buddy, he didn't blow up. He didn't scream or rage. He just processed. Quietly, like he always did. The guy was crushed, but he chose not to end his friendship with Dick. Lisa wasn't worth destroying everything over, he said. That level of grace? Unreal. But it was who he was. They kept hanging out. Hunting trips. Game nights. Like nothing happened except, of course, Evelyn had a Lisa. She hated it. She wanted Dick to choose her, or Buddy. He picked Buddy. Over and over again. That's the thing about real friendship. It doesn't break easy. Even when it should. Even when it's been stabbed through the heart. But here's the twist. That choice, that loyalty Buddy showed, it would end up being the very thing that destroyed Lisa from the inside out. Because while she moved forward thinking she had won, gotten the guy, dodged the guilt, kept the upper hand, she had no idea that Buddy's real revenge had just begun. And it didn't involve a single raised voice or vengeful act. Just one hell of a life. Lived right. So that Buddy was heartbroken, blindsided, humiliated, and yet somehow still calm. Most people would have blown up their friend's phone, maybe shown up fit, but not Buddy. He just quietly accepted the betrayal. It gutted him, but he refused to lash out. That kind of strength. It doesn't come easy. That's character forged through years of being the bigger man. Meanwhile, Lisa had made her move. She ditched her, the man who helped her build her future, who loved her unconditionally, to hook up with his best friend. She didn't offer an explanation, didn't give him closure, just vanished. No texts, no calls, not even the courtesy of a lie. Ghosted. Imagine finding out your engagement is over, not from the person you love, but from an HR email and a half apology from your best friend. But here's the kicker. Buddy didn't delete Dick from his life. He didn't burn that bridge. Instead, he let it stand scorched, maybe, but still there. And Lisa, oh, she hated that. She wanted it all, Dick, the final word, and Buddy's total silence. But what she got was worse. Buddy's composure, his quiet dignity, his refusal to let her define the end of their story. Dick admitted everything, didn't sugarcoat it. You can punch me when we meet, he said, trying to laugh it off. But Buddy didn't swing. He didn't even flinch. He just nodded, thanked him for telling the truth, and walked forward with a bruised heart and a spine of steel. And while Lisa was busy playing house with Dick, Buddy was doing what Buddy always did, working hard, rising higher. While she was playing checkers, he was setting up a chessboard. Months turned into a year. Buddy healed, slowly. He dated a little, but nothing stuck. Until one day, he met Jen. Now Jen wasn't Lisa. She didn't have that pageant girl vibe or model tier looks. But she was smart, Ivy League smart, sharp as hell, funny, kind, grounded. And Buddy, he was smitten. Fast. Where Lisa wanted to be admired, Jen wanted to connect. Where Lisa curated every selfie and obsessed over status, Jen rolled up in jeans, made fun of prestige, and asked questions that mattered. And the chemistry, electric, but quiet, comfortable, real. In less than 6 months, Buddy put a ring on it. He knew the way you know when you've ever been burned before and finally find someone who doesn't just hold you, she sees you. Dick heard the news through the grapevine and decided to pay a visit. Alone he flew to prestigious city to meet Jen and no Lisa, just him, Buddy, and Jen in a cozy little apartment. And guess what? Jen liked him, she liked everyone. That was her gift. She had zero ego, zero drama. She welcomed Dick like he was just some long-lost cousin, no awkwardness, no weird vibes. And Dick, he was impressed. He flew home and told Lisa, yeah, Buddy's is awesome. Super smart. Super cool. Lisa's reaction. Jealous, spiteful, furious. Not because Buddy had moved on, but because he'd moved on well. Too well. She pouted about Jen's education, Ivy League. That stung. So Dick, ever the peacekeeper, tossed her a bone. Don't worry, babe. Jen's smart. Yeah, but she's nowhere near as hot as you. That worked. Temporarily. But the seed was planted. Then came the wedding. Small, intimate, no drama, except for one thing. Lisa pitched a full-blown fit about it. Refused to go. Tried to stop Dick from going. But Dick was firm. This was his best friend, and nothing was going to keep him from being there. Lisa relented, but she was fuming. While Dick was at the wedding reconnecting with Retha, high school friend with a taste for married women, Lisa was at home, spiraling. She'd lost the game without even realizing they were playing, because Buddy, he didn't just move on. He built a life that made her question everything. Jen wasn't just another rebound. She was better than Lisa in all the ways Lisa hated being compared. She was educated, beloved, grounded and happy without trying to be admired for it. That kind of happiness. It's a mirror, and Lisa couldn't look into it without seeing what she'd thrown away. And after the wedding, Buddy and Jen settled into life together. Quiet dinners, work trips, game nights with friends. Then came the MBA and Ivy League one. While Lisa was working to keep up appearances, Buddy was leveling up again. Promotion after promotion, pay raise after pay raise. His life, it was a rocket. And Jen was right there, co-pilot and cheerleader. They bought a beautiful house with a pool, popped out a couple of kids, and leaned all the way into the dream. Jen quit her job to be a stay-at-home mom. Buddy worked high-stakes projects and still came home in time to cook dinner and help with bedtime. The kicker, he and Dick stayed friends, even after all that. And Lisa, she had to watch it all, year after year, watching her mistake, build a castle while she struggled to maintain a cottage. Eventually, Lisa and Dick got married, quietly. No invite for Buddy, no invite for Jen. But the couple still saw each other. Lisa made peace because she had to, because Buddy's life was too perfect to ignore, because their kids played together, and Jen was just impossible to hate. Still, every interaction was a sting. Buddy showing up in a tailored suit, silver hair perfectly styled, confidence radiating off him. Lisa, once the queen bee, now just another mom trying to hide the wine stains and exhaustion. Every compliment Jen got felt like a dagger. Every happy story was salt in an open wound. But Buddy never gloated, never rubbed it in. That would have been easy. But he took the high road always. And that's the part that hurt Lisa most. Because she wanted chaos. She wanted drama. She wanted validation. What she got was a mirror of what she could have had. She didn't know it then, but the revenge had already started. It didn't look like a slap or a scream. It looked like a man building the life she thought she deserved with someone else. A quiet, powerful revenge with no fingerprints. Just success. And it was only the beginning. No one ever sees it coming, not really. They might see the signs, mood swings, exhaustion, quiet withdrawals, but they never believe it'll end like this. Not with someone like Dick. He was the funny guy. The guy who always had a joke, a half-serious conspiracy theory, or a greasy snack in hand. He was messy, yeah, and maybe a little broken, but he had heart. He wanted to be happy. He tried. But by the time the end came, Dick had nothing left to give. Let's rewind to the last few weeks. Lisa was gone more than she was home. She'd fallen deep into her affair with the accountant from work, the love of her life. She called him. While she was playing out her fantasy, Dick was doing everything else. All the cooking, all the cleaning, all the childcare. 3 kids, full-time solo. He worked from the basement, hunched over a laptop between diaper changes and dinner prep, pretending everything was fine. He told Buddy, "I'm just trying to hold it together until the kids are older." But the cracks were widening. Lisa made it worse. Every day she came home with new resentment. She complained that she was trapped, that she had married beneath her, that she could have been living in a 6-bedroom house with a pool if she'd chosen right, if she'd picked Buddy. She said it out loud, to Dick's face, over and over. She didn't even say it to hurt him, she said it like it was fact. And Dick, he stopped defending himself. He stopped speaking up at all. He'd made mistakes, sure, but he had tried. He had sacrificed. He had done more than most people would for a partner like Lisa, and he had nothing to show for it but exhaustion and contempt. When he called Buddy that final time, it wasn't a cry for help, it was a goodbye. "Dude, trust me, I know, leave her," Buddy said. The words were simple, honest, direct. It was the last thing he ever said to his best friend. That night, everything fell apart. Dick got drunk. Not the fun kind of drunk, the hollow, glassy-eyed, full-bottle kind. He woke Lisa up at 3 a.m. The house was quiet, the kids were asleep, the air was heavy. He stood over her, shaking, reeking of whiskey, eyes bloodshot. "I never loved you," he said. "You've never been enough." He told her about the prostitutes, about how he'd been paying for sex through most of their marriage, that it was the only time he felt like a man. Then he said he hoped she'd rot in hell. And before she could scream, before she could even react, he walked into the bedroom, shut the door, and pulled the trigger. The blast was loud. The blood covered everything, walls, sheets, her memory. She found him like that, and for once, she broke completely. By the time the paramedics arrived, Lisa was outside on the curb, barefoot and hysterical, rocking back and forth, screaming, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault. Kill me too." She kept repeating it, louder and louder, like if she screamed it hard enough, time would rewind. But it didn't. Buddy got the call that afternoon. He was at work, probably in some glass conference room. reviewing a strategy deck. The ringtone came in like a gut punch. Bob, Dick's dad, was on the line. His voice didn't break. It just faded. "Buddy, he's gone." The room tilted. Time slowed. Buddy didn't cry, not yet. He just sat there, stunned, staring at the floor like maybe the right words would crawl out of the carpet. The funeral was fast, small, intimate, and Buddy wasn't invited. Lisa told Bob he shouldn't be there, said it would cause drama, that his presence would complicate things. Bob, still numb with grief, agreed. Buddy didn't fight it. He didn't argue. Didn't push back. He stayed home, sat quietly with Jen, and let the grief come in waves. But something about it didn't sit right. Buddy had lost his best friend, the man who had betrayed him, the man who had saved him, the man who had, in the end, needed him more than ever, and he hadn't even been allowed to say goodbye. That silence, it haunted him. Weeks later, Bob called again. Lisa was a ghost, barely functioning. Bob and his wife Linda had taken in the 3 kids. Lisa worked, drank, and slept. Nothing more. But Bob had questions. "Buddy, she keeps saying it's her fault, that she ruined everything, that you shouldn't have been at the funeral." Then came the question that cracked everything wide open. "What don't I know?" Buddy paused. He thought about lying, about keeping the peace, but something inside him snapped, not out of anger, not for revenge, but because Bob deserved the truth. So Buddy told him everything, every detail, every secret, from the ghosting, to the cheating, to the abortion Lisa never told anyone about. He told him about Ray, about the swinger parties, about the drinking, the neglect, the affairs. He told him that Dick had been unraveling for years and Lisa had pulled every thread. And Bob, he listened, quietly. When Buddy finished, Bob didn't scream, he didn't curse. He just whispered, "Thank you," because now he understood. He didn't condemn Lisa, he didn't rage against her, he just understood, and that was enough. Bob and Linda kept raising the kids. They treated Lisa with kindness, not because she deserved it, but because the children did. They gave them love, stability, a life without shouting or secrets. But someday, those kids will be old enough to ask, why, and Bob will be ready, because he knows the whole story now, the real one, and that truth. That's the final act of Buddy's revenge. He didn't throw fists. He didn't scream at funerals. He just told the truth. And that truth, it'll echo forever. Most people think revenge has to be loud, explosive, dramatic, scorched earth, but not Buddy. His revenge, it was quiet, surgical, delivered with a steady hand and a calm voice. And it didn't land when Lisa cheated. Not when she ghosted him. Not even when she dragged his best friend into the mess. It landed that afternoon 1 year after Dick's death, when Buddy stood in Bob and Linda's living room, next to a plate of cookies no one had touched, and told the truth. It was Bob who asked for it. Gently grieving, desperate. Lisa was still saying it was her fault, still haunted, still ducking responsibility even as she whispered guilt into her wineglass. And Bob, trying to raise 3 kids while his daughter-in-law drank herself into oblivion, just wanted answers. "What don't I know?" he asked. But he could have said, "It's not my place." He could have smiled politely and changed the subject. But instead, he said, "Bob, I think it's time you knew the truth." And then he told him everything. No spin, no drama, just facts. How Lisa had gotten pregnant in college and never told Buddy, choosing instead to involve Dick and hide it forever. How she ghosted Buddy, turned down the job he helped her get, and ran off with Dick without even a conversation. How Dick had begged her to love him, and she'd used him like a human crutch. Every tear, every affair, every manipulation chipping away at him until there was nothing left. He told Bob how Lisa blamed Dick for not being enough, even as she stayed out all night with other men. How she turned their marriage into a power game. How she'd begged for permission to sleep with Ray. How she flaunted it, made Dick feel worthless, humiliated him into silence. How Dick told Buddy everything, late night confessions while playing WoW and pretending everything was normal. How every swing of Lisa's behavior came down to control, to punishing the man who had loved her too much and never learned how to leave. And finally, Buddy told him what Lisa said to Dick in their final months. How she compared him to Buddy. How she weaponized the idea of what could have been, and how Dick already broke and believed her. By the end of it, Bob just sat there, tears in his eyes, nodding. Not in anger, but in understanding, because now it made sense. The confusion, the pain, the way Lisa had screamed, "It's all my fault." It was, and she knew it, but she could never say it out loud. She could only collapse under the weight of it. Buddy left that day without asking for anything. No vindication, no closure. Just the knowledge that, finally, someone else understood the cost, because that was the final blow. Not the career wins, not the glow-up, not the loving marriage with Jen. It was truth, delivered quietly, to the right person, at the right time. And now, that truth lives inside Bob and Linda. It waits calmly for the day when those 3 kids are old enough to ask why their father isn't here. And when they ask, Bob won't lie. He'll tell them what really happened, who their mom really was, and what she did. No edits, no soft landings, just the full weight of truth. That's Buddy's revenge. No fists, no fireworks. Just a quiet conversation in a quiet house, and a legacy that will last far longer than any scream ever could. You want to know the most savage revenge move in human history? Living well, not petty, not loud, not cruel. Just living with grace, love, purpose, and peace so completely and beautifully that the person who tried to destroy you is forced to watch you thrive. That's what Buddy did, and that's what made his revenge nuclear. Even after everything, even after she got what she wanted, freedom, a new man, another marriage, she still looked back. Still wondered, still hated that Buddy didn't crumble the way she hoped he would. She had watched him glow up from nerdy band kid to sharp-dressed, silver-haired powerhouse, saw him build a dream life with Jen. The Ivy League education, the mansion with the pool, the joyful kids who knew they were loved. A happy, whole family with no screaming matches, no secrets, no games. Lisa had no peace. She drank, she raged, because somewhere, deep down, she knew it could have been her. She could have had the life, but she couldn't have handled the love. She chose chaos over character, drama over devotion, and every year that went by, Buddy's life stood as a monument to the reality she threw away. Let's run the score. Buddy never retaliated. He never threw a punch, never made a scene. When Lisa ghosted him, he grieved, healed, and kept moving. When Dick confessed to betraying him, Buddy forgave. When Lisa banned him from the funeral of the man who broke both their lives, he respected it. And yet, every choice she made only elevated him, because while Lisa chased affairs and flings and attention, Buddy poured love into Jen, into his kids, into a home that was a refuge. Every promotion, every glowing performance review, every new level of success came not from spite but from consistency, integrity, and hard work. He never stooped, and because of that, he soared. People noticed, old friends, mutual acquaintances, even Lisa's co-workers, who knew Buddy's name because Lisa couldn't stop bringing him up always coated in bitterness. Because Buddy, he's got the perfect life. And the worst part, it was true. Jen and Buddy never had to fake it. They were genuinely happy. They laughed a lot. They supported each other. Their home was filled with light, warmth, and respect. No mind games, no manipulation. That stability, it was Lisa's because she lived in a house filled with guilt. She still had 3 kids, but they were being raised by Bob and Linda and her. She was present in body, but checked out, emotionally vacant. She could smile for photos, sure, but deep down, she knew she had failed as a wife, a mother, a partner. And every time Buddy sent a Christmas card, every photo of his smiling kids and laughing wife was another reminder, another cut. The real punishment wasn't public humiliation. It was watching someone else live the life, she told herself. She deserved only to realize she'd never been capable of maintaining it. That's the thing about revenge. People think it's about pain, but real revenge, it's about clarity. It's about showing someone exactly what they lost and letting them sit with it. Lisa had no one to blame anymore. Not Dick, not Buddy, just herself. And Buddy, he never gloated, never rubbed it in. He just existed, successful, loved, thriving. That's what made it nuclear. He was the living proof that the problem had never been him. It had always been her. That's what drove him mad. He didn't just move on, he outgrew her. And when the truth finally landed, when Buddy told Bob everything, it cemented his legacy. Because now, the people who matter most, they know Dick's kids will grow up with the truth. Not to hate their mother, but to understand her. To protect themselves from becoming her. To break the cycle. And when they do, when they ask, what really happened, and Bob sits them down with quiet eyes and a heavy heart, Lisa's lies will collapse like paper walls. All thanks to buddies.com/patient honesty. The story could have ended 1,000 different ways, with fights, lawsuits, scandal, but instead, it ended with a man who chose to be better, to heal, to love harder, to let his life be the answer. That's nuclear revenge. and it leaves no survivors, only echoes. But he didn't just win, he thrived. His life became the mirror that reflected every mistake Lisa ever made. If that hits you in the gut, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. What's your version of living well? Revenge. The thing about revenge is it's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, so smooth it looks like grace, like dignity, peace. That's exactly what Buddy's life became after he married Jen. See, Jen wasn't flashy. She didn't try to be the center of attention. She didn't crave the spotlight or chase likes on social media. She just was smart, centered, confident in her own skin. She didn't dress to impress, didn't compare herself to anyone, least of all Lisa. And maybe that's what drove Lisa so crazy, because Jen didn't have to try to shine. She just did. Buddy thrived with Jen, it was obvious. They talked the same language, quiet jokes, thoughtful conversations, mutual respect. She challenged him. She rooted for him. She matched him stride for stride, not in flash, but in substance. While Lisa was always on, Jen was calm, collected, and refreshingly real. Within a year of marriage, they bought a beautiful home in an upscale neighborhood. Nothing over the top, but warm, spacious, inviting. Jen made it a home. She quit her job when the first baby came along. Not because Buddy told her to, but because she wanted to. She found joy in it. That was the kicker. She wanted the life she built with him. And Buddy, he was glowing up. We're talking full Neville Longbottom transformation. Nerdy band kid turned Silver Fox executive. He stayed fit, got stylish, found his confidence. With a high-level consulting job, an Ivy League MBA, and a wife who adored him, he was on fire. Meanwhile, Dick and Lisa's life, well, it wasn't quite the fairy tale. They had kids, 2-3 of them, all in quick succession. Every time Dick tried to leave Lisa, she'd cry, seduce him, and boom, another kid. It became a cycle. She wanted control, and each pregnancy was like another chain binding him to the mess. Dick kept working from home, coding between diaper changes and grocery runs, buried in snack crumbs and chaos. Lisa, always the beauty queen, tried to hold on to her crown. But time, it's undefeated. Even though she was still stunning, there was always that edge jealousy simmering just under her skin, especially when they visited Buddy and Jen. The contrast was brutal. Lisa would walk into their house, the clean rooms, the happy kids, the effortless love between Buddy and Jen, and you could feel the resentment ooze off her. She'd make little comments. Oh wow, Jen, you don't even wear makeup. That's so brave. Or your house is so cozy. But Jen, she didn't bite. Ever. She was unshakable. And that made it worse. Lisa wanted Jen to feel insecure, wanted Buddy to feel tempted, wanted someone to crack. But no one did. They just smiled, poured wine, served dinner, and made her feel invisible in all the wrong ways, because she wasn't in control anymore. She had traded a man who adored her for one who tolerated her, a future filled with potential for a present full of regret. Dick, bless him, tried, but his soul was worn down. Every time they came home from a visit to Buddy's house, Lisa would spiral, crying, drinking, accusing him of not being good enough. He'd try to make her laugh, try to be the old charming Dick, but it didn't land. Not anymore. And eventually, the spark died. That's when Ray came back into the picture. Remember Ray? The guy who couldn't resist a married woman. He showed up like a storm. Flirty, confident, dangerous, and Lisa still clinging to her looks like a lifeboat lined into it. She started complaining about her marriage to him, just like she used to with Dick before they got together. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Ray played the long game, seduced Lisa with attention, validation, danger, and when she asked Dick if she could sleep with him, it wasn't a question. And Dick, broken down and tired of fighting, said yes. He even watched, and so began the swinger era. It started with Lisa and Ray, but soon it expanded. Parties, experiments, Dick trying to find something to hold on to while Lisa chased anything that made her feel alive. He said he got off on watching her be degraded, said she enjoyed proving he wasn't man enough. They turned their marriage into a slow-motion car crash and told Buddy and Jen all about it. Seriously. One night while playing World of Warcraft, Dick got on TeamSpeak and unloaded the whole story, 2 hours of gut-wrenching, cringe-inducing details while they farmed wolves in Elwyn Forest. Lisa was upstairs with a bottle of wine, while her husband told his best friend and his wife about their unraveling sex life like it was a sitcom. And Buddy, he listened. He didn't judge, he didn't mock. He just listened. That's what made Buddy dangerous. Because he didn't need to talk trash. He let reality do that for him. Lisa knew it too. Knew that every word Dick spoke was another nail in the coffin of the image she tried so hard to maintain. And when they visited next, the air was thick. Lisa tried to play nice, but the mask was slipping. And Dick, he was clearly testing the waters, hinting at group fun, seeing if Buddy and Jen wanted to join in the chaos. They didn't. Jen shut that down without even blinking. Not with harsh words, just a firm, quiet no. And that was that. But nothing ever went back to normal after that. Because now the truth was out. Everyone knew what Lisa had become. And she knew. Still, Buddy didn't judge. Didn't retaliate. He just kept showing up with his gorgeous life, his happy marriage, his clean dignity. And that, right there, was the sweet slow burn of his revenge. No fire, no screaming, just success. Just stability. Just a perfect, loving home that made every one of Lisa's choices echo in her head. Because deep down, she knew she could have had that. She was this close. And she blew it. Every holiday photo from Buddy and Jen's life was a reminder. Every shared update. Every school play where their kids looked healthy and happy and loved. That was the real revenge, not spite. Not bitterness. Just Buddy, living the life she threw away. And Lisa, she was stuck. Tied to a man who loved her, Shabbat, who had seen too much. Said too much. Given up too much of himself to make it work. She didn't hate Buddy. That would have been easier. She envied him, resented him, not just for surviving, but for thriving. And that resentment, it ate her alive, one sip of wine at a time. Meanwhile, Buddy never spoke ill of her, never gloated, never rubbed her nose in it. He just kept moving forward. Better job, more love, deeper roots. A walking reminder that she lost not because he failed her, but because she failed herself. You know how some people keep digging even after they hit rock bottom. Lisa brought her back hope. Let's rewind. By now, Buddy and Jen are thriving career success, adorable kids, enviable marriage. On the surface, Lisa and Dick are doing okay too. 3 kids, a decent house, Dick working from home, Lisa climbing the corporate ladder. But behind closed doors, Lisa was unraveling. She looked like she had it together, perfect Instagram photos, PTA appearances, wine nights with the girls, but she was barely holding on. And Dick, he knew. He wasn't stupid. He saw the way she looked past him, the way she treated sex like a bargaining chip or a punishment. He tried to fix things, therapy, date nights, vacations, but nothing worked. Because Lisa didn't want to fix the marriage. She wanted to feel something again. Into Ray. Yep, that Ray. Same Ray from high school. Same guy who tried to pick up someone else's wife at Buddy's wedding. Some people grow up. Ray just got sneaky. Ray always had a thing for married women. It was his brand. And Lisa's still beautiful. Still bored. Still craving control. She was the perfect mark. And Ray went in hard. He knew just what to say. Lisa was a sucker for compliments, attention, forbidden sparks. Ray painted himself as the man who saw her. You deserve more, he'd whisper. You're amazing. You're wasted in that marriage. And Lisa, she ate it up. She broke. Not all at once, but piece by piece. First it was flirting, then texts, then late night calls. And finally, one night, she came to Dick crying. I can't take it anymore. I need something real. I need to feel alive. Then she dropped the bomb. She wanted to sleep with Ray. But here's the insane part. She didn't just want permission. She wanted Dick to watch. You'd expect a fight, maybe even a breakup. But Dickie said yes. He'd spent so long feeling worthless, so long trying to make Lisa happy, that he'd convinced himself this was love. If he'd let her do this, maybe she'd stay. Maybe she'd stop resenting him. So he watched Ray and Lisa had sex while Dick sat in the corner like a ghost in his own marriage. And afterward, Lisa looked relieved, like she'd gotten something off her chest. That moment cracked something open. They didn't stop there. The affair became a lifestyle. Ray became a regular fixture. Other couples joined. Swinger parties happened. Lisa leaned into the MILF role, reveling in the attention, the power. She wore it like armor. And Dick, he spiraled. He started drinking more. He tried to convince himself he liked it, that the humiliation was part of the thrill. But it wasn't. He was miserable. He missed the days when Lisa looked at him like he mattered. During this madness, Dick would call Buddy. Still best friends. Still bonded by something deeper than logic. He'd talk for hours about the chaos, the pain, the desperation. And Buddy, he listened. Always. Never judged. Never threw Lisa's betrayal back in Dick's face. One of those conversations, it happened during a World of Warcraft session. Dick, Buddy, and Jen were grinding low-level quests in Elwyn Forest's TeamSpeak, open voices low. And Dick just opened the floodgates. He spilled everything. 2 hours of Lisa's crying, begging to be degraded. Ray's smooth seduction lines. The parties. The shame. The kids sleeping upstairs. While their mum was downstairs with another man, Jen was horrified. Buddy said almost nothing. But they listened. And that silence, that calm, that was Buddy's power. He didn't need to respond with anger. Just hearing the truth, letting it sit, was punishment enough. Lisa had gone from high school sweetheart to the tragic star of a suburban soap opera, and Buddy had front row seats, not because he wanted them, but because Dick kept inviting him in. And then, like a slow-motion avalanche, it got worse. Lisa met someone new. Not Ray. Some guy from her job. Clean-cut, emotionally available. Not into swinging. He was from the accounting department, harmless on the surface, dangerous underneath. Lisa called him her soulmate. Told Dick she loved him. Told him she was leaving. Except she didn't. She didn't want a divorce. Divorce meant custody battles. It meant child support. It meant financial transparency, and Lisa did not want her life dissected in court, so she stayed. But not because she loved Dick. She stayed because she wanted freedom without consequences. She started staying out all night, sometimes 2 nights. Dick handled everything: school drop-offs, laundry, cooking, bedtime stories. He was a full-time dad and part-time emotional punching bag. And every time he tried to talk to her, she made it about Buddy. If you'd been more like him, more successful, more ambitious, I wouldn't be stuck here. If I had married Buddy, I'd be living in a mansion with a pool, not this dump. If you were enough, I wouldn't need anyone else. And Dick, he started to believe her. He thought back to all the times he'd messed up: his GED, his job, the way he handled things. He started to think maybe he deserved this. That's when he called Buddy one last time. It was a short conversation. Quiet, heavy. "I don't think I can do this anymore." Buddy begged him to leave Lisa. "She's bad news, man. You've got to get out. Save yourself. You're still a good guy. You deserve better." Dick agreed. But he didn't get out, he checked out. 3 a.m., a cold morning. Dick, drunk and shaken, woke Lisa up. He told her he'd never loved her, that she'd ruined him, that she wasn't enough, that he'd been with prostitutes during their entire marriage. Then he walked into their bedroom, and he ended his life in a way that left no doubt he wanted Lisa to suffer. The blood, the splatter, all of it designed to make sure she remembered. The paramedics found Lisa outside, barefoot, in hysterics, screaming, "It's all my fault. Kill me too, it's all my fault." And for once, she was right. Buddy got the call at work. It was Bob, Dick's dad. Devastated, confused, broken. And when the funeral came, Lisa banned Buddy. Said he wasn't welcome. Said it would complicate things. Buddy, ever the gentleman, respected her wish. He stayed home. And something about that, it triggered Bob. Weeks later, Bob called Buddy again. Quietly, grieving, looking for answers. "Why does she say it was all her fault? Why does she ban you? What happened?" And that moment, that was the turning point. Buddy didn't yell, he didn't gloat. He just told the truth. Everything. From the ghosted engagement, to the abortion, to the affair, to the swinger parties, to the final betrayal. He laid it all out, not to hurt, but to help. So Bob could finally understand what broke his son. And Bob, he cried. But he also thanked Buddy. Because finally, he had closure.